Welcome to the How to Heal podcast. My name is Lindsay. I'm your host. I'm a New Yorker. You see the hat. I keep it real, okay? We're going to turn the cameras on and we're going to give it to you straight. So today is the 7th week of Integrate. It's my one-on-one coaching container. We're switching it up to give you guys some value here to walk through this so that you know everything that I hit on. If you're interested in this content, if you're interested in what I'm saying, if you are motivated by what I'm saying and you don't know how to get there yourself, I am available for one-on-one coaching. We'll make that happen. Today, week 7, we're talking about embodiment. Now, within the structure of my program, I talk about confidence and negotiation. When we embody confidence, it is much easier to negotiate. I've mentioned this in previous episodes. People gravitate towards people who know themselves. People gravitate and trust people who embody confidence. So that's really the foundation of negotiation. Just as a side note here, you're saying, Lindsay, why are you qualified to talk to me about negotiation? And the reason I'm qualified to talk to you about negotiation is because for my professional career, I negotiated leases for major retailers in commercial real estate, and I worked for Wawa, and they send me to Harvard for a week to their law school for their negotiation program. So I am qualified to talk about negotiation. However, what I want to emphasize is that negotiation starts out of the womb, baby, out of the womb. I heard somewhere that children are the best negotiators because they constantly ask for things over and over and over again until it wears you down and you're just like, fine. That's one tactic. Persistence, right? Like just generally speaking, when I was making cold calls, that sounded so Long Island. When I was making cold calls at a multifamily acquisitions company, I had to get on the phone and I had to call the same people over and over. I also learned from a professor of mine, he's like, you've been negotiating, you negotiate with your parents. You negotiated with your parents to send you to school and to pay for it. So it's definitely something that you start earlier than you think. It's not just this like a thing that you learn that you do. You're doing it all the time with your with your friends, with the people on the phone who are helping you at the insurance company, or with pretty much anything. I can't remember. I think it was like the registrar's office in college. I spent a lot of time there. I was like needing to do a lot of administrative things in Binghamton. And my boyfriend in college, I'm just like, I told him, I'm like, people want to help you. People want to like other people and want to help other people. So if you can get into a position where you're received well from the person, because one of the underlying parts of negotiation that nobody talks about is that you want to get people to want to work with you before they have to. And of course, in a lot of negotiations, that's not realistic. You're not going to be able to build a relationship with someone. And sometimes that could even hurt you if you have a relationship with someone and it's like, it's a little personal. But you want to respect the space between the actual negotiation and the time that you are building trust, because that's ultimately what it is. You want to build trust with the other party so that you feel like you're working on the same wavelength. And the way that you do that, you want to understand what you want in the negotiations. The best way to enter any negotiation is preparation. The best way to go in to any negotiation is preparation. You need to know facts and figures. You need to know numbers. You need to know timing. You need to know what you want. You need to know the best case scenario for where you are. You need to know a better scenario, better than normal. You have ultimate, lower than ultimate, acceptable, below, and then you never want to end into a position. You are not negotiating. If you were ending into a position, the negotiation ends. The negotiation needs to end. If you're in a position where you are settling on what is the lowest possible outcome of what you would accept. That is not a negotiation. That is a strong arm. And that is also like, maybe you didn't go in prepared. Maybe this is just a one-sided thing. Maybe you have no choice, but you're not negotiating. You are being forced into a situation that is not beneficial for both of you, because negotiation, the heart of it, needs to be beneficial for both parties. I talked about this prior. Like, we want to make the pie bigger. We don't want to just make pieces. We don't want to get bigger pieces. We want to get bigger pieces out of a bigger pie. So I also, you to think about this. And when it comes to negotiation, you're going to have five entities within a negotiation. Party one, party two, needs of party one, needs of party two, and the final outcome. And all of those entities must be respected and acknowledged and treated with dignity. Now, yes, could there be numerous, additional, 7, 9? Yes, if you have more people involved in the negotiation. But for the purposes of this conversation, we're just going to talk about party one and party two. So when you understand what you want, meaning you've sat down and you've prepared, you've said, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what needs to happen to make the math work. You need to just sit down and prepare. I'm not going to go through a business negotiation, deal making exercise, because this is not for that. This is for the everyday person who wants to just get better at negotiating. But you need to know what you want. You need to sit down and say, okay, my best outcome is that I get a discount of X amount of dollars on this medical bill. And my second outcome is that I get to have a payment plan for this medical bill, X, Y. And my worst case scenario is that I have to pay the medical bill. Otherwise, it's going to collections today. So just in any circumstance, you have to really understand all the potential outcomes that could possibly be there for you to gain in the negotiation. And a lot of times, the people on the other end, when you're negotiating, and not in a deal sense, not in a business sense, but these people who are on the other end of the line, who really want to help you, want to ultimately just feel good about themselves at the end of the day. They want to feel like they had a good day. They want to feel like they rose to the occasion and helped you because they wanted to, because they liked you. And it's like How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie. We want to be liked. That is the number one step in a negotiation. Let's be liked. Let's make this equitable. Let's make this friendly. Let's make this transparent. They call it the spirit of the deal. I like to be extremely transparent when I'm negotiating, and I will straight up call you out. This is not the spirit of the deal. I'm being forthcoming with you, and I think that some people just don't care. Some people just don't care about the spirit of the deal, but we really need to get into a place of integrity when we're negotiating with others on any level, because that's where we're going. We're going into a place in the future where we're going, and I know, it's so weird. We're going into telepathy. We are going to be able to communicate things that don't need to be said, like more, and it happens now. She's like, oh, Lindsay, that's so crazy. No. It happens. It happens with your best friends. It happens with your kids. It happens with your spouse. We are going into a place where we're socially with people that we are communicating with them without saying things. And we have to have integrity in how we are looking at relationship exchanges and relationship dynamics. And it's much easier to be confident when you know that you're coming from a place of integrity. I heard someone talking about people that are really successful because they're completely bought in to their sort of mission. And I thought about this when I was in college. I was very into like Scarface and The Godfather and The Sopranos. And, it was like this persona that was so easily, you were just easily able to embody this like gangster persona. And oh my God, can that get you into trouble? That got me into so much trouble. I literally thought I was a gangster. I don't, running with the wrong people, and when we take an honest look at who we want to be and make sure it's authentic. If you didn't listen to the authentic style episode, it's sort of, we're hitting on this same topic. We want to be authentically in integrity. So we don't take something and mimic it. We take something and we say, I like that. What do I like about that? Let me sit with that and prepare, journal. Integrate it. What do I like about that? What don't I like about that? And ask yourself, what don't I like about that? What have I seen other people doing in that space that I don't like? Because you're like, oh no, I love everything about that. But then you can actually think to some people, you're like, they embodied that, but I didn't like this about that. So make sure that you're just crystal clear on what it is you want, what it is you want to embody, what it is you want to have. That is like the key to having a successful negotiation. Because when you get on the phone and you're like, I want this, and I want this, it's easier for people to meet you there. A lot of times in negotiation, people aren't able to actually meet you because you're not communicating what you need. My husband is amazing at this. He asks like a million questions. He's like a freaking human calculator in his head, like running all the scenarios. Like, what does this person need? What questions can I ask this person to reveal what else they want from me? Where else our needs can meet in an area where maybe we didn't think that they would be able to meet. So I'm really sort of blending a technical approach to a personal strategy and philosophy of negotiation, because what I offer on this podcast is a little bit of business, a little bit of self-care, and a little bit of witchiness. So if you like this podcast and you are still here listening, please give me a like or a rate. I would appreciate it. Yeah. So for the last sort of topic on embodiment is leadership. Because leadership is negotiation in action. True leaders are negotiating all of the time to get people to buy in to what they are selling, who they are, what they stand for. Follow me. That is the embodiment portion. You must have confidence, but you must have all the other things that we just discussed. You need to know what you want, where you're going, what the best case scenario is. And you need to meet people where they're at so that they can feel like My benefit will meet your benefit. That is a successful negotiation. That is successful embodiment of negotiation, aka leadership. Growth mindset adds to this. And, generally speaking, you want to be in a growth mindset. You want to write everything down, guys. We want to write it down. We want to speak it out loud. Like we say we teach what we need to know most. Write down what we need. We need to write down what we want the most. And we need to get crystal clear, because a lot of times we're thinking things and they're incomplete thoughts. We have a fleeting thought and we're like, oh, that was so good. What was it? I forgot. No big deal. I'm driving the car. I have to make it right here now. Where am I going? So when you write things down, you get extremely cohesive. You create the cohesive train of thought that may start as stream of consciousness, but actually this is where coherence meets stream of consciousness, where you're really coming to create your art, create your desire, create your worlds. I just want to end with this thought because this is interesting. I feel that even if I don't get a lot of listens on a particular episode, that it was totally worth the episode because I was able to articulate what I was saying in a cohesive, clear way for people to listen to. I articulated it verbally, I recorded it, and I put it out to the world. And when we talk about telepathy and we talk about things of AI, because I was also thinking this, there are studies have shown that when you do a crossword puzzle, that the next round of people are going to do better on the crossword puzzle because it was already done, even if they didn't know the answers of the other people who previously did it. The same thing is going to happen with AI. So you're going to see an upsurgence of psychic information coming through because of AI. And not all of it is good, folks. So you better get clear on what it is that you want, clear on what it is that you're saying, clear on how you feel. Just, creating that mental health safety net. That episode that I posted a couple of weeks ago. We really need to protect ourselves in all areas, especially psychically. There are also elements of persuasion. And as women, we have a larger ability to persuade because of our femininity and the softness that we come to things with. When men are negotiating in a business sense with other men all the time, and it's just like dollars and cents, when let's just say a landlord can all of a sudden help a attractive girl to get what they want, we have to, number one, be aware that that exists and own it. Yeah, can you help me? Can you help me? Please. Get a little jovialness into it, a little jokingness. We can own that level of confidence. And that will be beneficial to us because ultimately we want the negotiation to be fun. We want happiness and joy and laughter and funness. And of course, there are topics when things become serious, but we want to have positive, fun, flirty, funny exchanges with people. It just feels good. The last thing I want to mention is last week's episode about boundaries. We have to have boundaries in negotiation. We have to maintain our level of, this is where I begin and this is where you end. And that's why I talk about the entities. We are each entities that have to have a level of dignity and self-respect. Because when you feel like the other person is leaky or doesn't have that level of self-respect, you don't really want to creatively, constructively think about how you're going to help that person. So you just want to be standing in your integrity so that you can have an air of yourself that people want to reciprocate. People want to meet you where you are. People want to stand with you. And that's really where we're negotiating just on an everyday level. Like, hey, I like that person. I'm going to give some extra brain power to figure out what I can do with that person. But it starts with yourself first. So that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Happy September. I am just feeling the Virgo energy. My mom is a Virgo. I think that's like the best person to have. My mom is a Virgo and my dad is a Capricorn. And it's a very good energy to grow up with in terms of like getting ish done. So shout out to all the Virgo Capricorn couples out there, and I will see you next week.